welcome to Powerful Legacy TV. I'm your host, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and our guest today is Kristina Ping-Kepperling and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 of Powerful Legacy Insurance and Financial Services. Welcome back, you guys.
Thank you. Great to be here with you.
So how's everything in the great state of Kentucky?
Oh, we are wonderful.
Yes. Yes, house is just about all done, right?
Oh, yes.
It's getting very close.
It's great. We live there. We have trees and grass and everything.
Oh, that's always good, right? Grass, trees, I like that. Hey, so today, I know your passion for education, specifically financial education. That's kind of like your specialty. I know that about you. I know you're like shy about it, but you should be very proud. Today we're going to talk a little bit about some things going on in retirement where people are. So let me ask you this. When should someone consider their current strategy and maybe changing or adjusting it once they retire?
Well, let's talk about where you are in the financial phases first.
Okay.
Folks, we do have a little graphic that we can pull up here, and it's called the 3 financial phases. And when we're talking about these financial phases, the first one is going to be your contribution or your accumulation of your retirement accounts. This is when you're working and you're contributing, putting money into your retirement strategies. Then we start to jump into that retirement red zone. You can see that there around the 40s, 50s, and on up into the 60s. It gets really nice and red. We're talking about conservation of your accounts. This is when you don't really have enough time to lose to be able to gain back to what you need to be able to have a successful distribution. So that third phase being distribution, your 60s, 70s, 80s and on plus the rest of your life. And when we're talking about the 3 financial phases, I want you to just stop and think for a moment, where am I at? What does this look like? If you're in that retirement red zone, which means you're supposed to be conserving what you have and starting to talk about that distribution, then we should probably be sitting down having a conversation. For some of you, that's going to be your 40s or 50s. For others, you may have not had that conversation yet, so it'll be your 50s, 60s, or even 70s.
You know, to that point, I wanted to ask you, how often, or how important, I should say, is it for someone to consider a specialist when they get close to retirement? Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristina, but a lot of people, to your point, they're sticking to the early phases of retirement based on that graph, and they're in that accumulation phase. But as they get into retirement, they may just start looking at different options and maybe a different specialist, correct?
Right, right. When you're talking about contribution and you're putting money in, it's probably your work program.
Right.
And that is perfect. That's what that is meant for. But when it's time for decumulation, aka spending your money, and I'll just tell you, I'm the best at it. We love it. Now what we're really looking for is that lifetime stream of income. We want to make sure that you don't outlive your money in retirement, so that decumulation of your retirement money is going to last you until you pass away or even beyond with your legacy. And when you're talking about decumulation, it's not going to be the same as your accumulation strategy. Normally not even the same company or the same place. So yes, you should have that specialist when you're starting to look into moving that over. And even before, when you're talking about that conservation, you definitely want to be with a specialist that's what they do. They're managing your risk.
Yeah.
And how tolerable are you to risk?
Bingo.
That's an important question.
Well, and think about it. You don't have the same pediatrician you had when you were a kid.
That's right.
And why is that?
Because you get a geriatrician.
Wow, geriatrician. Man, I'm learning something today. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Oh,
all right. That was good, a geriatrician. I'm going to write that one down. Okay, so do we have time? Let's do a quick question, can we? Because we had someone calling about the RMDs. First of all, required minimum distribution, that's correct?
Yes.
When did that change from 70 and a half to 72? Was that fairly recent? Or?
It was in the middle of the night, December the 19th of 2019. The Secure Act of 2020 passed. Now, folks, what this means is that instead of 70 and a half years old, you can now wait until 72 to pull your required minimum distributions. If you do not pull your RMDs out of your qualified accounts, so for some of you that don't know what those are, that will be your traditional IRAs, your 401ks, 403bs, 457s, and if you do not pull that required minimum distribution, guess what? That's a 50% penalty. That's huge. So we always want to make sure and keep that age in mind. And this is what it looks like. If you become to that age, 72, and you do not need your RMDs, first off, congratulations. That means that you spent a lot of time saving, and you did a really good job at it, so I'm very proud of you. But if you get to that point and you don't need the money, that could become a tax problem because it can put you into another tax bracket. So having someone help you coordinate all of those things in one, that's very important to have that specialist.
Yeah, we hear all the time, too, when we go over the RMDs, you get this puzzled look on a lot of people's face, saying, I have to spend my money. Wait, I have to pull this out now? They're making me do it?
I don't need it, Rob.
Yes. But if you didn't know it and you didn't do it, they take 50% of your money.
50%, so
50.
you better do it.
That's huge.
That's
Wow,
a huge
that
deal.
is massive. I've heard you guys say the phrase, know how to work your taxes.
Yes.
It's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Well, working your taxes means that you're no longer working, so you need to know how to work your taxes.
I got you.
No, the way that it falls into your strategy is going to be making sure that you're staying just on the cusp of not jumping into another tax bracket. So, for example, up to that $170,000, you're just parked right at that 24%. Then it's a huge jump up to your next bracket, so we want to make sure we don't exceed that. And for some people who, if you have rental property out there, maybe $1 million or $2 million sitting in your retirement accounts and maybe getting some Social Security or even a pension plan, and it's going to exceed that between you and your spouse, this could end up being a major tax problem. And we want to hold on to those taxes because that's extra money that you could be continuing to accumulate interest on.
No, good point. You know, it's interesting. You mentioned some real estate, and I know in the tax strategy, because a lot of folks think you can continually roll a 1031, right, and on a primary and then on a rental. But I was talking to a gentleman the other day. He actually thought that applied to every real estate parcel he had.
No.
And I don't think that's the case.
That is
so,
not.
so many times, I think folks don't realize that it's important to have a competent tax strategy with an accountant. And you guys have partners, you have resources for them that can help them determine these things, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you can't be a jack. I mean, I'm not a lawyer or a CPA, and so we have our powerful partners that are lawyers and CPAs and
Yes.
med-sup specialists, all of those things that you will need. If you don't have a team surrounding you in retirement, you probably don't have the right team. If you just have one person that, you know, thinks they're the jack of all, maybe a water cooler informer, that's probably not going to work out.
No.
Yeah, the last thing you want is somebody saying, your buddy saying, yeah, you'll be good on the tax part of that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, your next door neighbor, as you guys are barbecuing together,
Yes.
he's telling you, yeah, don't worry about the taxes. You just keep
what was
rolling.
your job? Well, I'm a
You can
plumber.
1031 exchange that. I
Right.
think that's how this gentleman got his information, which was, you know, I'm like, no, I think you probably better check with an accountant on that. That doesn't sound right to me. Let me ask you another question, guys, because I know this is one that's really causing people a lot of trepidation. Folks are staying home more because of the impact of inflation.
They
I
are.
think we're seeing that. People are really getting kind of concerned about enjoying their money, spending their money, because they've seen this rate of inflation hit every part of their goods and services, from gasoline to cars. You'd mentioned cars, Rob. Are there steps that people can take to basically inflation-proof their retirement?
Well, I think COVID kind of led us into this. People staying home, and then with inflation coming on the tail end of this, it didn't really make sense to go out and spend that extra money. Now, some places you'll go out and see people at restaurants, and there'll be packed houses. I mean, but you have a lot of restaurants that went out of business.
Yeah.
So it's kind of deceiving when you go out and look at that and you see what's around you as far as people being out and about.
Yeah.
But you're right. A lot of people stay home because they don't want to spend gas. They don't want to spend money on the clothes that they didn't have to have for these last couple of years because they were working at home.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Well, and when you're talking about eating out, that's one of my favorite things to do. Obviously,
too.
I love to eat, yes. And a lot of my retirees, the way they save money eating out is they eat lunch, or you go to that early bird special and happy hour because it's less expensive. So you can still enjoy retirement. Again, I'm all about spending the money, so I'm good at saving too, don't get me wrong. But we want you to enjoy your retirement, and we don't want you to feel like you have to cut back. You just can't eat out. Go at a different time, because eating lunch, not only is it going to be a healthier portion, which is probably still 2 portions, but it's also half the price of what it would be at dinner.
That's a wonderful tip. That's a fantastic tip. Well, listen, I understand you guys have a wonderful offer for the viewers today. Would you share that with the good folks in Kentucky?
We do. Folks, if you're giving us a call at that number on the screen, 877-893-5099, you're giving us a call for a complimentary review. That's right, complimentary. This is not something that you're going to be sold something or that you have to pay for, and this is quite valuable. We have folks that are paying upwards $1,400 just for this simple session. And for some of you out there that need a second opinion, this is also for you. And when you come in, you're going to get a complimentary copy of The Retirement Train. We love sharing this educational book. It's so wonderful about all of the different stages through your life, what you should and could be doing financially, and if you've made a mistake, what can you do to get back on track?
Good stuff. I love the analogy retirement train. What kind of retirement train are you on? Is it one of those rickety old trains where you got to get up and take care of yourself, got to get your own food, not sure you're on the right track? Or is it one of those nice plush retirement trains where you get to sit back with a glass of vino and enjoy the scenery, the mountains as it go by?
Yes.
That's the train you should be on. But the question is, are you going to invest the time to make sure that you're on that track, that your train is the one you want to be on. How are you going to find that out if you don't take action? 877-893-5099. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, everyone, to Powerful Legacy TV. We want to thank you for being with us today. I've been delighted to be your host, Paul Gebhardt, and my guest today, Miss Kristina Ping-Kepperling and her husband, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 of Powerful Legacy Insurance and Financial Services. Guys, you know, there's a lot of stressors out there lurking below the surface. You and I talked about this, but are there plans, are there strategies or tests, so to speak, that someone can do to stress test their current retirement to make sure it's on the right track?
Well, having a consultation is going to be your first stress test because we'll let you know, are you on track, yes or no? I did have a very unrealistic experience. I had someone that called in and came in for a complimentary review, and this person, so very kind and unfortunately just did not know, but was 61 years old and said, I'm going to retire at 62. I have a little over $300,000 in my 401k, and I'm going to withdraw my 401k, pay the taxes, and buy a house. And then I'm going to live on my Social Security alone. But the bills were going to be well over $2,000 a month, and Social Security was only $1,400. So that's not going to add up. What did we need to do? Well, first off, withdrawing all that money from the 401k and paying the taxes on it and no longer having the interest and the earnings of that 401k, that was a really big mistake. You don't want to dump it all in there. And realistically, what kind of a home could you afford? Because now with inflation and things are so expensive, it just wasn't going to work out. So even though this was not the most favorable outcome, we did come up with a strategy that's going to work and is going to retire at 65 instead of 62. So just a few years difference, but going ahead and buying a home, maybe something a little bit smaller, a little bit more realistic, and having those realistic conversations are not always fun. Just like if you jump into a bank, they're probably going to tell you, oh, based on your debt to income ratio, you can afford X amount for a house. It may realistically be about 20 to 30% more than what you can afford. So talking to someone that's on your team, there to advocate for you on a very big life decision like buying a home, even bigger life decision, retiring, then that's a great way to make sure that you're going to be on track.
Well, I bet she's very much relieved the fact that she met with you and you
Yes.
were able to give her a clear plan. And that's what we're talking about,
Good,
right?
bad, or indifferent, people feel better when
Yeah,
they have the
absolutely.
information.
I mean, that's what this is about. You're in
It
the
is.
resolution business, right?
Yes.
The resolution. Let me ask you this question. How important is it, and how often should someone examine what they currently have?
Yearly. I mean, I think you can, just depends on which situation you're in. The last 10 years, money's been cheap to borrow. It's creeping up. If you watch the interest rates from the feds, it's going to go up. It looks like it's going to continue to go up. So keep that in mind. If you're in the market for a new house or you're looking for something 6 months down the road, the layout could be much different at that point.
Good stuff. That's very good stuff.
I think examining your strategy is just like going to your physician or to your dentist. I think having regular checkups is very important.
Right.
Because things change. Sometimes there could be an indicator that you're just not healthy financially. Those red flags do pop up sometimes in retirement. It's not a one-time deal. That's not the way that it works at all. And we want to make sure that you stay on the type of retirement train that you want. We were just talking a little bit on break. Do you want to be on a retirement train that you're Flintstone in that old big hunk of metal up the hill? Or do you want to be on the Retirement Express, which is just a nice and smooth ride, you know, with that glass of vino, whatever it may be, and, you know, on your way to your favorite golf course? What does your retirement look like? It's going to be different for every person, and we want to make your retirement successful.
That's good stuff. Let me ask you this question. What do you say to the do-it-yourselfer out there, somebody who likes to basically try to do their entire retirement planning strategies and their investing? Is it important to even just get a second opinion or maybe a little bit of advice from a professional that's doing this on a regular basis?
Well, if they are a professional and they're doing their own retirement, I know most professionals get a second opinion from other professionals. So if you're not a professional and you haven't got a second opinion, you're probably not going to have a successful strategy. And
then how about Google? You know, this is the number one thing too. A lot of folks think they can find quality information out on Google, and sometimes you can. It's like a needle in a haystack, but there's a lot of information to come at you online, right? And,
there is.
And the thing that kind of worries me a lot of, if you're not in this type of business day in, day out, how do you know to ask the right questions? You know, Google doesn't read your mind.
You don't want a mechanic performing heart surgery on you.
Yeah, exactly right.
I think Google could be a good luck charm. It's overly optimistic.
Yes.
Except when you're on WebMD, then that's ultra pessimistic. You know, you go on there about a mosquito bite, and next thing you know, you're dying of some terrible disease.
That's the worst place I go is Google for that, right?
But for retirement, when people are Googling that, they're coming to us and saying, you know, oh, it says that I can retire and I'm going to have X amount of money. Well, what is that based on?
Yeah, what is it based
Where
on?
in the world is that coming from? And where is this guaranteed lifetime stream of income? Because there's only one place that you can get that, and that's not what you're talking about. So, and what is your risk tolerance? Talking about how much risk you can tolerate within retirement and even before retirement, that's very important. I want to do a little bit of a heart rate check here. So for those of you that have $1 million sitting inside of your retirement account, are you comfortable today if you lost $500,000? What about 400,000? Maybe 200,000. You're still shaking your heads no, everybody we can see. Okay, are you comfortable losing $100,000, which is 10%? Probably not. That means you're within the retirement red zone. That means your risk tolerance is very, very low. You want to conserve what you have because you know if you lose, you may not get back to even and have the retirement how and when you want it to be.
Powerful stuff. The key is to make sure you know where you are, and how do you do that if you're on this task alone? Hey, don't get me wrong, Google's a great place to get, you know, reviews for a sushi restaurant, right? But this is an important part of your life. When you make these important decisions, like your medical decisions, you talk to a professional, you talk to a doctor. And when you're talking about your retirement, this is the business of the rest of your life. So unless you really want to go back to work, in my opinion, you need to have someone that does this day in, day out. They will ask you questions you never thought to ask. Google can't help with that, okay? Listen, do me a favor, you guys. We're going to take a break here, but would you remind the good folks of Kentucky what you're offering them again?
Yes, remember, folks, when you give us a call, you're going to sign up for a complimentary review, or for some of you, it's going to be a second opinion. And when you come in, it's going to be getting also a copy of the retirement train. One of the things that comes to my mind with this review is that I had a gentleman that had called into the show last week, and he was so excited to come in and see us. And I asked him, what was it particularly, what subject was it that made you call into the show and wanted to have a chit chat? And he said, well, I was thinking about who I was getting advice from. And he drives race cars on the dirt track for fun.
Oh, wow.
And he thought, this is kind of like getting advice to pilot a plane from one of my dirt track buddies. I'm probably going to get there real fast, but it's going to be a crash.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That was good. That was really good.
I thought it was pretty neat.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, the complimentary review is waiting for you. You have to make the move. Procrastination's a killer. You know it, and I know it. Don't let it be the thing that kills your retirement. Pick up the phone. Call Kristina and Rob and their team. 877-893-5099. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place, then help determine if you are well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision. So why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you are getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back, everyone, to Powerful Legacy TV. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm your host again, 𝗏𝒑𝒂𝒏𝗏𝗏, and my guests have been Ms. Kristina Ping-Kepperling and her husband, 𝗏𝒑𝒂💏 of Powerful Legacy Insurance and Financial Services. Guys, I wanted to get into a very important topic. I know a lot of viewers ask this question. Everybody gets really nervous when we talk about healthcare, especially as we're all aging. Right? We know, when do we, get Medicare? Do we get a Medicare supplement or not? I mean, what's our group plans going to do if we retire? How long can I continue coverage? There's a lot of questions around healthcare. And one of the biggest concerns folks have, right, is having a catastrophic health condition that eats away their retirement nest egg. So what are some ideas or some strategies that folks can do to make sure that their healthcare doesn't rob them of their retirement?
Well, the number one answer is going to be insurance. If you have a really nice home or an automobile that you want to protect, or even your cell phone, you probably have insurance on it. So how do you protect your retirement from a healthcare catastrophe is going to be with health insurance, long-term care insurance. And when we're talking about what it is that you need exactly, for some people it may be a little bit too much premium a little bit too late. Or perhaps long-term care insurance is not going to fit in your budget because it's just too expensive. And unfortunately, when I give you a little statistic here, it's going to sound like it's overwhelming, but it's really not. We'll break it down. For a couple that's retiring at age 65, and you have the possibility of living between 90 and 95 respectively, you're going to pay approximately $300,000 for your healthcare costs. That does not include the long-term care.
Wow.
And so where is all that coming from? Obviously healthcare premiums, medications, copays, deductibles, however that may run. And the insurance of today is much different than it's ever been. It's getting worse, unfortunately. Things are not covered like they used to be. Medications are more expensive, procedures and very necessary tests to make sure that you stay healthy are very expensive. And so sometimes insurance companies have a little bit of incentive. What about if you just lost 10% of your weight, or maybe you stopped using tobacco products? What could that look like for your health insurance premiums? And even on your Medicare supplement, it could improve them greatly. And then what about talking about some way to not have long-term care, but to build in some extra costs that could be involved with long-term care, not a use it or lose it, because if you pay all these premiums for long-term care and then you never use it, you've just spent a lot of your retirement savings into something that obviously was never needed. So what can we do to hedge against that? We discuss all of these options, all of these situations when you come in for your complimentary consultation or even your second opinion.
And what does it look like, too, pre-planning for this, having a workout routine? Maybe build that up throughout each week, maybe get a little bit stronger. Maybe you're eating healthier. Maybe you're eating more organic foods, and just being more healthy for the family, so you don't get to some of those situations.
We try to practice that in our household, but I mean, I know when I think about retirement, I always think, I could have that scoop of ice cream in the afternoon when it's hot, Right. So I probably need to plan on a little bit longer walk that day too.
And what I love is that you guys talk about every aspect. I think that's what, if I want the viewer to really see where you're going with this, is there are so many different aspects to retirement planning. There are so many different things that can cost you dearly. And you got to have every bit of these in your strategy, right?
Retirement is like a gorgeous diamond. I mean, it's multifaceted all day long.
Absolutely.
And we cannot be all of those things. So we have all of our powerful partners. We have a CPA, will, estate, and tax attorney, Medicare supplement specialist. We have a P&C specialist to talk about your home and your auto insurance, because do you know that that changes when you lose your spouse?
Yeah.
You're going to lose that married discount or perhaps a multi-car discount because you go down to just one car. All of these important pieces, these multifacets, we can't handle all of them, but we definitely will have a team that surrounds you and makes your retirement strategy successful.
Which is incredibly important. Let me ask you this. Market conditions, what's going on out there? Are they going up, they're going down? What ideas should people be ready for when they're in that conservation phase of retirement? And how often and what types of things can they be planning for with the current market conditions?
Well, you shouldn't be worried about market conditions if you have a good strategy in place.
Good point.
If you are worried about the market conditions, ultimately the volatility, you're with everybody else on this. Don't worry about it. It is just a phase, but you do need to have a strategy that has those market conditions and your risk tolerance and built into your strategy. So first off, 600%. I'm giving you this number because 600% is where the market volatility is right now. Holy cow, that is a huge number.
Yeah.
I know when I think about 600%, I think that's supersized, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Makes me
so
nervous just saying that number.
Supersized volatility, supersized inflation.
Yes.
Oh wait, supersized taxation coming up. I mean, we've got a lot of things that are really difficult, but the market's actually down. Interest rates are going up. This can actually be a sign of strength in the economy because it's a cycle. You know what happens when things go up or things go down, then they will tend to shift the other way. So it's okay.
Correct. But now, more than ever, it's important to understand the value of your time, right, Kristina?
It is. We know that your time is valuable. Our time is very valuable, but we care about you so very much. That's why we give these 10 time slots weekly on the show. And for those of you that are our loyal listeners, we thank you so very much for joining us weekly. We know you love your Powerful Legacy TV just as much as us. We'll have to bring Zeus on here and let him just hang out. He'll probably fall asleep on the desk, but you know, and that's what you're going to get when you come in and see us at the office. Come over, just off Richmond Road in Man-O-War in Lexington and over in the St. Matthews District in Louisville. Our offices are so warm, so friendly, gourmet coffee bar, and if you want something a little bit stronger, that's available too, just saying.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Yes.
Well, guess what? We're coming down to another end of a show. We want to, first of all, thank you so much for being with us today. But it's important that you take advantage of a complimentary review. They're investing a lot of time and energy in listening to you. That's how a good plan starts. But none of it begins without you calling. You're in charge of your destination. And today, that call is the first step. 877-893-5099. Call in and get your complimentary review. We want to thank you so much for being with us. Be well and enjoy your retirement.